Good morning, Matt Waldman. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. I got this gift in the mail from my friend Adrian, who runs a blog called With Gusto. It's a travel blog, and so I was a founding subscriber, and on his Substack, you can find it at With Gusto. I know, Bob. I know.
I'll leave it.
Yeah,
I'll leave it.
I know. For full disclosure, I recommended for Bob to get. He couldn't get in, and then I haven't responded to his emails about getting him in to seeing what Adrian's writing about. Adrian's a really good writer, Adrian Landon, and he had some good stuff. So one of the things he sent me was this Nepalese scarf. So really.
Is that what you wrap around your face when you get to the top of Everest? Does that keep like the?
I think so. Or if you're,
I think if you're at the top of Everest,
or
it's
if
more
you're
than
chucking
that.
Molotov cocktails in
there
a
you
city
go.
near you,
There you go. That too.
I might need that, so we'll see. I don't know.
By the way, he's Matt Waldman. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Feel It or Fuck It podcast. We're going to do one of those things or the other to a series of blistering questions. And I know you're thinking it's like the second week of June. What the hell you mean blistering questions? Well, we're coming off the first round of mini camps. Like, I think 27 teams have done their mini camps. There's 5 remaining this week. The mandatory mini camps, that is, where it matters if you show up. It matters like about $100,000 worth if you don't. And Terry McLaurin happily paying that amount to, like, feel it or fuck it, Matt. Terry McLaurin, the second highest paid wide receiver on the Commanders roster.
Oh, fuck that. He deserves that. He deserves his money. He just deserves his money for being as good as he is for what he does so technically unsound. I just think that he's like trick shot wide receiving,
I'm guessing he will get that money, and this is just, he has his chance to preserve his health and preserve, make sure he gets his money. This will probably be his last big shot at a contract.
Somebody needs to win man-to-man in Washington. It ain't going to be Debo. I'm just going to put it to you that way.
And we'll see if it's Noah Brown. He got a little beat up in the minicamp, had an MRI. I haven't seen the outcome of that. Anyway, you can find Matt's work. The rookie scouting portfolio is available at mattwaldman.com. Also, the Dynasty rankings are out now. I need to go buy mine so I can figure out who to get off my roster. I need to devote an entire week to all my Dynasty rosters, wide receivers who should not be on them, who are still on them. And we're talking from the last 10 years. There's going to be some Josh Gordon's on my roster somewhere.
What? Really? Still?
Probably. I can't let go.
I do. Do we love? Okay, Bob, feel it or fuck it. Calvin Johnson coming out and saying he smoked pot before every game to relieve his pain, whereas Josh Gordon basically had his career ruined for doing the same things.
Well, here's what I feel. Okay. I feel like the NFL has moved past, right? Wherever they were at one point, they're taking a much more, I'll say, fair attitude to the entire off-field recreational stuff, especially the offseason. It kind of shifted there a little bit and I think a player with, Josh Gordon's history, that was part of it. And and I think his issues were a little broader.
Sure.
But I do think we've hit a point where kind of like the NBA approaches, well, okay. And so there came a point where the NFL, everyone knew when they were getting tested and you could stop at a certain time. I don't even know if they even test anymore. I guess they do, but I don't think it certainly isn't a front burner issue, if you will.
I'm glad Fred McMurray retired from being the commissioner of, or no, he didn't. Maybe he just got a change in personality. I don't know.
Maybe so. I don't know. Well, let's get into
maybe he ate a brownie or two.
Well, who has it? Who among us has it? Anyway, we'll save my Amsterdam stories for another time. But I highly recommend the space cakes. We're going to dive into my work, by the way, can be found at the Football Guys website, along with Matt Waldman's. You can find both of us there. My fantasy notebook comes out every week. Some of the questions this week are from that very notebook, and we've been doing that every week because it's got a lot of topics in it. So,
and the hot seat.
And the hot seat, yes, that will be available to you as well. I think Alfredo Brown will be on with me this week, so don't miss that. Mike Dempsey of last week, that's still available. All of them are available. Go to the Audible channel, Football Guys, and you'll find them.
The scorched
There.
earth seat. There we go.
Seems like enough shameless promotion. You'll find Matt Waldman on there just a couple of weeks ago, and his seat was scorching. He had the fire alarm going off, and Hugo dancing in the background was just delightful. I looked at the Raiders. The offensive coordinator changed Chip Kelly this week. I guess I want to start this off. Something that Jordan Schultz from Fox Sports wrote when on draft night was Pete Carroll gets beast mode 2.0 and Ashton Jeanty. Does that sound like a reasonable kind of description? Are we getting ahead of ourselves with a top 10 ADP on Ashton Jeanty?
Yeah, I think we are. Top 25, absolutely not. Top 10, I think, is a little bit premature, and it's just the inflated price of the new running back who's the star. If we're gonna really get technical about what Ashton Jeanty is, he's probably he's got a little beast mode in him for sure. Like, the thing that makes him so good is that run stamina that beast mode had, where he ends runs with the same kind of energy and ferocity and intensity that he ends them, or that he begins them. But I would say there's a little dash of Reggie Bush going on with Ashton Jeanty. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of beast mode mixed with Reggie Bush. But you have to understand, Geno's going to have to play lights out. I think that he can play well enough for them to be competitive in the division, at least for 2/3 of the season. But I think that the line play is good enough for Jeanty to be rookie running back one, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be top 10, shot at top 5 production this year.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. And then, so let's add a layer of intrigue to that, right? With Pete Carroll saying at the end of the mandatory mini camps that this is not a one-man backfield. We got a timeshare going on. So feel it or fuck it, Raheem Mostert is the lightning to Jeanty's thunder.
Man, that's a great question. I think that probably, in theory, yes, that is absolutely correct. I think that that's what they want. In practice, when's the last time Raheem Mostert has played more than 14 games? So right now, I've got it like this. Jeanty's probably going to give you 17 games, probably close to 230 carries. Raheem Mostert, I think, is going to give you about 80 carries, and then maybe another 25 receptions. So you're probably going to get somewhere along the lines of maybe 600 to 700 yards out of Mostert at most. And then you're looking at probably 1,300 to 1,400 yards out of Jeanty. And I think Mostert can be a red zone specialist and give you 5 or 6 touchdowns, but I think Jeanty can still get you within double digits.
I think, and I'd just like to throw this out there. I'm looking at a couple different projections while you're talking. I know the Football Guys projections have Jeanty at about 270 carries. I think Mike Clay over at ESPN has them slightly higher. You really think that maybe that your number? Give us a little more info on that.
Yeah, I mean, mainly because I think that you're going to need to be in a position to run the ball enough for that to happen. And I understand that, from a touch standpoint, are we going to be at 50-50 right away? I'm not so sure. So I think with this defense, they may have to pass the ball a little bit more than we would expect. But I think that, could I see upping Jeanty in terms of touches? Yes. But I could also see a 2 or 3 headed backfield out of this mess. And so for me, right away, when we look at the type of player that Jeanty is, I don't know if Pete's going to grind him down like that when he's got Mostert and McCormick that he can use, and even White on some level that they can use situationally.
Yeah, when I see some of the players going after him, some of the backs that are going after Jeanty, I'm probably not investing. He's running back 4 right now, 7th pick overall in terms of ADP. I mean, the last guy I remember, and I don't want to keep making the comparison because it's not apples to apples. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 2020 or whatever, when we all were just convinced the role was going to be super robust and all these things were going to be great in it. And he came up a little short of that. I think he was a running back to tail end 2 or early 3 numbers. So
that's why you subscribe to the RSP.
This is true, so I can go back and look at those things. Listen, man, Chip Kelly back in the NFL, fielded to run heavy, high-scoring offenses in previous stints, and to that point, I mean, I think the numbers have been super impressive. Let me run them at you a little bit and see what you think here. We've got 3-year seasons in Philadelphia. The Eagles' offense will rank 3rd in the NFL in points per game, 3rd in total offense, 4th in rushing yards per game, 2nd most running plays of 10 or more yards, and that's Hugo. And that's kind of Jeanty's wheelhouse, right? The avoiding tackles, breaking the big runs. 4th most passing plays at 25 or more yards over that span. 2014, I want to say LaShawn McCoy led the league in yards from scrimmage, rushing yards 1,607 and yards from scrimmage. Carlos Hyde had nearly 1,000 rushing yards in just 13 games under Kelly in 2016 in San Francisco. So feel it or fuck it. Chip Kelly's going to get this offense going.
Oh, yeah, I feel it. I mean, I think that sometimes people place too much history. They look at the history of offensive coordinators turned coaches, and they say, oh, well, what Chip Kelly's doing didn't work in the NFL, or he ultimately failed. It did work, It did. But he failed. He was not. He was a little too innovative in terms of some of the other things in Philadelphia, not necessarily the scheme of the play calls, but he's kind of evolved over time, going from kind of a fast-paced, let's all guns blazing at Oregon to more of a traditional NFL-style approach, right? Yeah, without a doubt. So, I mean, to me, the idea of hiring veteran coaches who've been there and done that and understand what a head coach is doing and the pitfalls of what head coaches have to deal with, and he's in the role that made him, that earned him the head coaching nod in the first place. I think it's a really good fit. And obviously him and Pete are probably, they're closer to the same generation. They probably work well together.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be a strong fit, and this offense is going to be moving on upward for sure. And I think the run game will look strong.
Geno Smith, the quarterback there, and I don't want to downplay. He had the comeback player of the year season a couple years back. He's 3 straight seasons in Seattle, 3,500 plus passing yards and 20 plus passing touchdowns. He's had some issues. But he's quarterback 22 right now. Is that a real value for fantasy managers? Feel it or fuck it?
I feel it. I mean, just from the standpoint of how the nature of the quarterback position is, you want to look for some of these players who are outside the top 15, because a lot of them will probably provide production that is very close to QB 8 through QB 12, and so you can take your chances on some of these guys and realize that the margin for error for a lot, or the margin of difference between a lot of these guys after QB 15 is so small that you can often use them for weekly matchups and get strong value out of them. And I think Smith is a really good example of that. I mean, I see Smith probably completing somewhere over 68% of his passes this year. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard thrower. With the ground game, he's going to be able to do well with play-action passing. I think, you just got to remember that their primary receiver is Brock Bowers, So Bowers can go up and get it. That's great. You can get a little bit of that from Jack Bech, but Jakobi Meyers is good in that respect as well. They've got a lot of underrated, unsung guys. Maybe not underrated, but a lot of unsung guys in this group in the passing offense that I think Geno can work with, and the run game will offset some of that, and they'll be able to leverage the runners out of the backfield. I mean, Jeanty and Mostert are very good receivers. I would expect to see, probably somewhere around 500 to 600 yards worth of production out of those guys.
All right, let's talk about some of these receiving assets. Brock Bowers coming off the historic rookie season, mid-second round ADP. We're buying. Are we buying high, or are we getting sufficient leverage over the field at the position? Feel one or fuck one?
I'm buying high. I think this guy's only going to get better. I think he's got a better quarterback to work with. The receivers that that they're trying to infuse this offense with, at least with Bech, gives them an opportunity to use Bech as kind of a move tight end as a blocker, and then open up Bowers a little bit more in ways that are believable for defenses to have to play both the receiver and the tight end. With Michael Mayer, you really couldn't do that, and they knew that Michael Mayer is the blocker or the short-range zone option. He's not really a man-to-man threat. So you can create more confusion at the line with different alignments when you have two guys like Bech and Bowers together. So I see Bowers probably giving you close to 1,200 yards receiving and bordering on 10 touchdowns. He may not quite get to all of that, but he's going to lead this team in receiving yards by probably 200 or 300 yards.
Leverage over the field matters, people. I think there's some other guys that get you close enough at cheaper prices, but I'm not against this, and I do have shares at that middle second round. From early in the season, I probably have a first-round share or two. And if you're in a tight end premium league, you're going to probably see him going in the first round, I'm guessing, if you're an NFC player. Jakobi Meyers, over the last 2 years, he's been on the field enough to be, I want to say, wide receiver 2 numbers combined over the last few years, wide receiver 21-ish. It's fantasy's most overlooked 8th round pick. Feel it or fuck it.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I mean, I think he's a good zone player who can win some man-to-man. He gives you good contested skill play. I see him probably catching 80 targets for 900 yards and about 6 touchdowns this year. And that's, so that'll get you within that range of the top 24 in the low end.
Okay, some of the other guys we've talked about, let's do some quick hit. Are these viable dynasty darts? Tre Tucker, feel him or fuck him?
I would say fuck him if you're looking for a bargain starter, feeling him if you're looking for a bye week play.
Yeah, fair enough. Jack Bech, big body, seems like he's got a path to workload. Feel him or fuck him?
Fuck him. I think that he's if we're going to put, I'd say the same thing about him as Tre Tucker, but slightly less in the production category.
Tennessee rookie Dante Thornton, turns out he's very fast and very big. I like both those things. Feel him or fuck him, Matt, while I'm sitting here feeling him all day long. Dynasty dart costs.
Dynasty dart costs. Now, if Bech is a good dynasty dart, but
right.
Tucker, late in a deeper league. Thornton, sure, right now, why not? You can see what happens from there, and at a very cheap price. I don't think it's going to turn out anything great this year, but he has some skills to build on. So if you're expanding your roster sizes for the waiver wire, go for it.
By the way, Tucker add him to the list along with Marvin Harrison Jr. and others. Jaden Daniels is bulked up, looking pretty muscular. Of course, he was 182 pounds at his 5'9" frame. Not sure how much he can carry, but good for him for putting some effort in over the offseason. Cecil Lammey, our buddy at Football Guys, covers the Denver Broncos on a daily basis in that city. He says the plan is for the newly signed running back J.K. Dobbins to be the 1A to R.J. Harvey's 1B. Feel that or fuck it?
Feeling that all day long. Because Harvey, to me, as a prospect, really, when I think of a comparison, upside comparison would be Tariq Cohen on his best days, and which is really very good. It would be kind of a mid-range Darren Sproles type. On his worst days, I think he's more like Geno Smith, who everyone thought was going to be the next Darren Sproles for about 5.5 minutes. But I think that with Harvey, where he needs to improve is with the gap game in the red zone, in the black zone, and holding on to the football. Those are things that kind of could get worse with him as he's trying to process the NFL game. So having a veteran like Dobbins is really strong. So I think it's going to be, when you say 1A, 1B, I see Dobbins getting you close to 200 carries, a little over 800 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then probably about 40 receptions for another 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. I mean, this is a very good receiver out of the backfield who just wasn't used as much as he could be. And then Harvey, I think, to Dobbins' 195 carries, he's going to get about 140. give you about, I don't know, 600 yards out of that deal, a touchdown on the ground, and then he'll get close to the number of receptions as Dobbins, 38 to Dobbins 42, about 300 yards as well, a few touchdowns. So we're looking at probably 900 yards from scrimmage for Harvey, and then probably about 1,100 yards from scrimmage for Dobbins, if Dobbins can play at least 14 games. That's the big thing. So Harvey's a really nice add, even if the numbers aren't great from a projection standpoint.
Just you and I think, are both Dobbins stands. You more than, well, I mean, probably me because of you as much as anything. Coming into the league, reading the RSP about him. But like also, my scouts works pretty well, and I watched him play when he's healthy. He's pretty damn good. Like I wonder if is it possible we're too invested in this? Like I feel like Harvey, like in the early drafts, shortly after the draft, the Riz is gone, kids. The Harvey he's going to take a nosedive. Is he going to be like right now? I mean, the prices are still, as they were, but they'll soon start shifting closer. Where's the value points for these guys? How do you see them both if you're in a fantasy draft? Or are we like, do we want to avoid them as running back 2s and hopefully get them as running back 3s? Or what's the sweet spot for both?
Yeah, I think Harvey, if you can get him as a running back 3 or running back 4, that's going to be the sweet spot there. And then with Dobbins, I think that as they start to establish that he truly is the running back 2, what you're probably going to see is that he's still probably going to be projected as a running back 3. I think this is one of those situations where fantasy analysts and fantasy players are going to refuse to see Dobbins as the legitimate running back 1. And that's because they think, Dobbins signed in the summer, so that must mean he's not very good.
Right.
Dobbins has had multiple injuries. He means he must not be very good. Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball a lot. They got rid of him. He must not be very good. When in fact, so there's legitimate reasons for them to go low on him.
Don't forget the dirty little secret about that late signing either. The rarely used franchise tag was applied by the Chargers, meaning if he signed before a certain time, there was some compensation involved. So, and I think they're going to have to deal with that compensation because I think they signed him before that point, actually. So, but other teams that may have had interest were maybe a little put off by that. But I guess the big question we've seen over the many, many years, going back to the time in New Orleans, 2 running backs can be fantasy relevant in Sean Payton's offense. Will that be the case with these guys? Feel it or fuck it?
Oh, totally feel it. That's exactly what this is all about. I think that J.K. Dobbins really was part of the plan probably all along.
Probably so. Or someone like that.
Yeah, someone like that. And Estime was a good running back 3. Audric Estime is a nice running back 3. Or Jaleel McLaughlin could be that. Or Blake Watson, anything like that. So Dobbins gives you a mix of being like, who shared that with me? I think it was Dave Kluge who said he sees him as kind of like the Pierre Thomas to R.J. Harvey's Darren Sproles. I could see that. Or
by the way, that reminds me. I listened to the Launchpad the other day. Matt Waldman week on the Launchpad with Dave Kluge. You should listen to that. There's some excellent discussion. Excellent discussion on jazz music being almost as good as heavy metal. All right. Speaking of backs that recently signed, Nick Chubb goes to the Houston Texans. Is he fantasy relevant in Houston, working behind Joe Mixon? Feel it or fuck it?
I'm contractually required to say yes to anything about Nick Chubb. That's what everybody thinks, and it's probably true. But I think for right now, here's what I've done at Football Guys, which is kind of par for the course with me, is I have a few rankings out there where I put things that I project that maybe I wouldn't draft just yet, but they're to get people's attention. And if Joe Mixon is still in a walking boot after his ankle issues last season, and they signed a player like Nick Chubb, I would be a little concerned, especially when a guy like Mike Tomlin's kind of like, I don't know, he looked like the same back to me last year. He just had a bad offensive line. I'd probably take heed of that. And it's very possible that this could be a split. Could wind up being an even split where Chubb starts the year as the main guy until they give Mixon time to really recover. or they test the waters with Mixon when he sees Chubb signing there, creeping down his back, and decides he needs to hurry up and get out of that boot, and ends up screwing himself up. But
he did come out of the boot late, but I think the point is well taken. When someone, you have to wonder. I mean, there was no surgery, or are they just going easy on him? Is this totally a precautionary thing, or is there more to it? We probably won't get a definitive answer to that. I know. If you follow along, Aaron Wilson, local media guy, KRPC2 in Houston, longtime NFL insider. He generally has pretty good intel, pretty good sources on these things, and he keeps telling us it's minor, but I think he's been saying that since early this year. Right, since early this year when it first cropped up.
Who also had a minor ankle injury or foot ankle type of thing going on all summer. And then but most of us, I did, had him ranked number 1 overall. But at least you had to say, hey, there's this Jordan Mason guy. We really need to better be picking early than we think.
So totally different situation in New Orleans. I think this speaks to something else. Cam Akers signs with the Saints. Is this interesting? Let me phrase this, how we're going to feel or fuck this, because I don't think anyone's cutting into Alvin Kamara's workload. We heard Kellen Moore talk about it this week. But is this interesting in that there are other pieces there? Is this say something more about like the Kendre Millers and Devin Neals? This edition at this point in time, feel it or fuck it?
Yes, absolutely. Because with Kendre Miller, you don't know what you're going to get from week to week. Apparently from how the coaching staff seems to portray it. And with Devin Neal, he's an unknown who basically played in a gap scheme where I'm gonna probably hyperbolize the way he gets the ball, but he just basically got these weird toss plays on a regular basis. You didn't really see him run NFL-style runs between the tackles as much as you'd like. Now, I still think Devin Neal has the potential to become a good NFL running back, but probably more of a Bilal Powell utility guy who can do a little bit of everything. And if you really need him to be the starter, he can get the job done. But I don't know if he's going to be the guy you're going to want to replace Alvin Kamara with down the line. Miller has that talent. So I think Akers is kind of a stopgap. Let's see what we have in case Miller gets hurt. Neal doesn't really work out. And we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably hanging on just to, for them to see if he can bounce back at all. So, yeah, I think the Cam Akers signing is something to pay attention to.
Well, last week on the Feel It or Fuck It podcast, wildly popular, I'm told, with Bob Harris and Matt Waldman, Bob Harris was lauding the skills and the low ADP for Isaiah Pacheco as running back 29. He's moved up. He's running back 28 this week.
Look at the impact. I don't know.
I'm just saying. But he's moved up, and now DeAndre Swift is running back 29. I feel like it's time to move this ADP. Ridiculously underpriced. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, Swift?
Yes.
At running back 29, ridiculously underpriced. Good question. Before I put my foot in my mouth about this one, let me look real quick at my handy dandy football guys rankings.
I'll just frame it like this. I think the expectation was at least one of the two guys we talked about previous to this, whether it was J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb, was like almost certainly bound for Chicago's, because we have decided because the first year together of Ben Johnson and DeAndre Swift resulted in DeAndre Swift's departure, or was followed immediately by
that they didn't like him. Yeah,
that they didn't like him. Right. So now we see the moves. Well, the moves that haven't been made in Chicago. I'm wondering if we have been baking in a price that was probably not going to be impacted at all. Hugo agrees.
Yeah, Hugo does not like running backs, I found. He's more of a defensive guy. So whenever we start talking about the run game, he's on high alert. You talked about Chip Kelly, he got pissed off. Now you're talking about DeAndre Swift, he's on alert. But I would say I have Swift at 24 right now.
Okay.
So it's a little better than 29 for sure. It is a tier up. I could see how what you're saying makes total sense, and that really Ben Johnson was like, we just have an opportunity for a more complete back, so let's trade DeAndre Swift and be kind of, it's impersonal, it was just business type of thing, and it could be that. But I would also say The back I have at running back 32 right now is Kyle Monangai.
Oh, look at you being all edgy.
I'm telling you, I
heard you talk about him on the launch pad. Again, people go find that at Football Guys.
Yeah, I like him. And I think, again, that could go – we could find ourselves – they're both going in opposite directions. Swift could continue to rise. Monangai could fall. Johnson could be in the mix, Rashawn Johnson. But I think that, yes, Swift is here to stay, and there's probably this is probably the lowest that you're going to go with him.
I'm just going to say that the last 3 years under Ben Johnson, the Lions have had multiple running backs in the top 24. So including inside the top 12, some cases inside the top 5. So this is something to watch. Saquon Barkley going second overall. I think that's not arguing against that. Bijan Robinson is going third overall. What I'm arguing is the third overall feels better than the second overall. Feel one, fuck one.
I'm going to feel Bijan Robinson.
Me too.
Yeah, I love Saquon, and I think that I still think Saquon Barkley has the higher upside of the two. So at the end of the day, you might look at that and say, why wouldn't you take him ahead of Bijan Robinson? And I guess the answer is that I don't know if the Eagles will have to lean on him as much as they did.
Right.
And I also think this seems weird, probably for some people, but the addition of A.J. Dillon signals to me that they are looking for a bigger back to take some of the volume away from Barkley. Only because that they don't want to run him into the ground per se. Like, they want to continue to give him a high volume of work, but they don't want it to be overkill. And I think that Dillon is that type of back who can close out games for you when it's meaningless, or give him key touches in certain areas of the field where he can be effective, if not downright good. So I don't, with Algier, we already know that's baked in, but Robinson is such an integral part of that offense, run pass, and I don't think that the Falcons are going to be running away with games in the way that the Eagles often can.
I think, the thing for Bijan is the numbers were like, okay, if you're all worried about the curse of the 370, the touches, yes, Barkley easily surpassed that. 365 carries for Robinson. But there was kind of a slow burn, right? And so second half, from week 6 on, he averaged 23 touches. That's Saquon Barkley level production, 120.9 yards a game, 22.7 fantasy points per game. That's the highest per game average of any running back over that span. That was from week 6 on. So Zach Robinson got it figured out and dialed in. And the talk we had, I want to say this time last year, where there was some questions about how the usage would play out, that we were all a little more concerned. There's just like a one Raheem Mostert and one Zach Robinson comment from misdrafting this player. Again, don't make the same mistake. They might say something nice about Tyler Algier. Not even they believe it. And we'll finish up with this guy you talked about a little earlier, reference, Christian McCaffrey, feeling good in his return. Sounds like he's healthy and good to go at the moment. No talk of Achilles or calves or ankles or anything at all. He's moved into the first round with a 12th pick overall. Feel that or fuck it.
Yeah, I've got him number 1 overall. I'm not scared. I think he's going to be. I mean, listen, if he's back and he's healthy, yes, Isaac Guerrero can give you some play. Maybe Jordan James can give you some play. But I think that we're going to see probably about close to 260 attempts for close to 1,300 yards, probably 10 to 11 touchdowns. And then you're probably going to be seeing close to 70 receptions for 900 yards and 5 scores. To me, that's enough to be the best running back in fantasy football. And he's 29. If he's completely over the Achilles, then I don't have a problem with that. This offense is still a good offensive line. They're going to miss Brandon Ayuk probably for a good portion of the year, or he's going to be missing in action while he's on the field, just because he's recovering from that ACL. And they don't have, other than Juwan Jennings, that's really the only proven receiver outside of him and Demarcus Robinson. So you're losing Debo. So I think that you're going to see McCaffrey carrying this offense, and we're just a year early. We were a year
I say
early.
Ricky Pearsall drafters will be horrified that he was not mentioned there because he's going shortly after Juwan Jennings. I want to say like right around wide receiver 41. I should look and double check that before I make a asinine comment that I'm going to regret later, which I often do. Let me just take a look. Wide receiver, because I've been drafting a lot. Now that's my sense of it. He is wide receiver 41.
Yeah.
He's going 4 picks after wide receiver 37, Juwan Jennings, who is a steal, people.
Yes.
Draft him at cost.
That's the big point.
Right.
That's the big point because Juwan Jennings, I mean, really, when you look at what he does projection-wise, he should probably belong in the top 30. Should be like 25 to 26 easily. That's where I got him right now. And then Pearsall, I mean, I've got Pearsall in a place where he's poised to be better, but
we're super enthusiastic about him on a narrow band of production late last season, and I get that, and I'm fine with it. But I don't want to get too carried away.
Yes,
and I think that's all. It's the we remember what the last thing we saw kind of syndrome there with fantasy investors. We kind of like, oh wow, and there is something to be said for momentum. I'm not saying fuck that. I'm just saying don't overstate it. And the big, variable here, of course, is Brandon Ayuk, who we don't think will be ready for the start of the season, or we don't think. Kyle Shanahan doesn't think, and he's the thinker who matters. All right, I'm the thinker that matters around here. Matt Waldman is not. Fuck him. No. That was like a brutal assault. I'm Bob Harris. He's Matt Waldman.
You had to wait till Hugo was out of the room. That's what happened.
Hugo barked so loud he woke up Wally while he's like sitting over there going, where was that sound coming from? All right. All right, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week. All the mini camps will be over. It'll be that dead zone between the ends of off-season workouts and the beginning of training camp. We'll hope nobody does anything stupid or any more stupid than they usually do, and we'll have plenty to talk about on next week's Feel It or Fuck It. Matt, thank you very much. Goodbye. I love you.
Love you, you fuck.